Good evening. We're glad to have you join us. This is the news on NTA International. I'm Ruth Aguele. Let's start by bringing you the headlines. President Buhari holds talks with President of Benin Republic on measures to end illicit activities across borders. Norway to deepen bilateral ties with Nigeria in strengthening security. Plus, World Health Organization warns of catastrophic moral failure owing to unequal COVID-19 vaccine policies. Nigeria and the Republic of Benin have resolved to take definite measures towards putting an end to smuggling and other illicit activities across their common borders for enhanced bilateral relations. Now, this formed the highlights of a high-level engagement between President Muhammadu Buhari and the President of Benin Republic, Patrice Talon. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the meeting was the first since the reopening of Nigeria's land borders by the federal government.
The last time President Patrice Talon met President Muhammadu Buhari was in December 2019 to solicit for Nigeria's understanding towards the reopening of Seme-Boda, in particular, whose closure impacted negatively on his country's economy. Although it took almost 1 year for this prayer to be answered, but as the saying goes, it is better late than never. He is therefore here to not only show appreciation, but also give personal assurances on the bold measures to be taken by his country towards ensuring that cross-border activities that have enormous consequences on Nigeria do not reoccur. And that dominated discussions between the two leaders behind closed doors, as explained by Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyama.
The President of Benin is going to do everything within his powers to ensure that this thing doesn't rear its ugly head ever again, that there will never be any issue of whatever, whether it's smuggling, whether it's trafficking, whatever it is, between Benin and Nigeria. They're going to set up a committee to come up with terms of reference, to take some very bold and very decisive steps and sustainable steps to ensure that all the issues that have been affecting the relationship between the two countries should be definitively put behind us.
You must recall that Nigeria just opened its borders, and now we have a new opportunity for Nigerian traders to benefit from the open borders. Now it's an opportunity for Nigerian traders to be able to take their goods across into the West African sub-region. So this portends good business and increased trade relations between Nigeria and other West African countries. And also you must remember that Nigeria signed on to the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which came into force on the 1st of January this year. So it is key that the borders are open so that this agreement that we have signed can be effective.
During the interactive engagement, President Muhammadu Buhari reiterated the importance of good neighborliness, saying the survival of your neighbor is also your own, hence the resolve by Nigeria to continue working with her neighbors towards deepening relations in critical economic sectors. He said a common understanding must continue to be forged on crucial issues, including security, trade, and development for the good of the two countries and their peoples.
Mr. President wants the two countries to be a shining example of what economic integration is all about within the framework of ECOWAS, to live to the ideals and the vision of ECOWAS, and for the two countries, Benin and Nigeria, to show that it can work and be a win-win for the two countries. Smuggling of drugs and intelligence as to the sources of that and who the beneficiaries are should be addressed comprehensively and definitively.
Any assurances from the Benin leader?
Oh yes, the President of Benin came with some very concrete proposals about resolving these issues definitively so that we'll never ever have to deal with them ever again.
President Patrice Talon, who appreciated the robust leadership being displayed by President Muhammadu Buhari, made a strong case for the relationship between the two neighboring countries to remain cordial. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Now to one global issue that is much talked about. You know, January 20th, 2021 makes it exactly 4 years President Donald Trump became the 45th President of the United States. Aguele Brooksland Sunday takes a look at some of the achievements, that is his achievements, and his last day in office.
Long before he was a contender for the U.S. presidency, Donald John Trump was America's most famous and colorful billionaire. The presidency of Donald Trump began at noon on January 20, 2017, when he was inaugurated as the 45th President of the United States, following his surprise victory over Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton in the 2016 presidential election, in which he lost the popular votes but won the Electoral College votes. His supporters often cite promises made, promises kept as a reason why they kept backing him.
I was very honored, very honored.
President Donald Trump's first few days in office became whirlwind of executive activities as he took steps to make good on the dozens of day one promises he made on the campaign trail. President Trump saw substantial spending cuts to major welfare programs, including Medicare and Medicaid. He rolled back numerous environmental regulations, reduced enforcement of existing regulations, and withdrew from the Paris Accords.
The Paris Accord would undermine our economy, hamstring our workers, weaken our sovereignty, impose unacceptable legal risk, and put us at a permanent disadvantage to the other countries of the world.
He signed the Tax Cuts and Job Act of 2017, enacted tariffs triggering retaliatory tariffs from China, Canada, Mexico, and the EU. He implemented a controversial family separation policy for migrants apprehended at the U.S.-Mexico border. Trump's demand for the federal funding of a border wall resulted in the longest U.S. government shutdown in history.
From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
Trump's America First foreign policy was characterized by unilateral actions. His administration withdrew U.S. troops from northern Syria, allowing Turkey to occupy the area. Trump met North Korea's dictator Kim Jong-un several times. Trump withdrew the U.S. from the Iran nuclear agreement and later escalated tensions with Iran by intensifying sanctions and reportedly ordered the assassination of General Qasem Soleimani. Trump pressured Ukraine to announce investigations of his political rival, Joe Biden, triggering his impeachment by the House of Representatives in December 2019. He was the third U.S. president in history to be impeached, as well as the first president to be impeached twice. Trump faced major overlapping crises in the final year of his presidency. The COVID-19 pandemic, nationwide protests following the police killing of George Floyd. Trump refused to concede his loss in the 2020 presidential election and made numerous attempts to overturn the results. A group of his supporters violently stormed the U.S. Capitol during the counting of the electoral votes. He lost. President Trump will spend his last day in office issuing nearly 100 pardons and commutations, a list that purportedly exclude him at the moment. Adebola, Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
So much to talk about, but let's focus on Joe Biden's inauguration, just some hours away. And to speak more on the development from the United States is the Executive Director of Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, Aguele Musa Rafsanjani. He joins us via Skype now from the U.S. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
All right, now, Joe Biden's inauguration, it's less than 24 hours away. What's the mood of Americans in Maryland, where you are at the moment, and by extension, other parts of the U.S.?
I can tell you that Americans are very excited and very eager to see tomorrow inauguration of the new president of United States. Because of so many troubling situations American people find themselves, both internal and external issues, surrounding American, country. So therefore, a lot of Americans are eager to see the new regime coming because they believe that, it is going to be a huge relief to deal with, a lot of internal and external issues. With the new president, whom they consider to be more, effective in terms of dealing with both internal and external issues that have been escalated in the country. As it is now, the country needs sober reflection and healing.
Okay, and part of those internal issues, of course, we know we can't leave out security. What about the security arrangement? What can you tell us, especially against the background of violence, which I'm sure you're aware, which erupted in the capital over a fortnight ago? Did you hear my question, Mr. Rafsanjani?
I don't know. I think the line went off.
Let's look at security arrangement. What can you tell us at the moment, from what you have observed? Mr. Rafsanjani. Okay, we seem to be having challenges.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm sure you heard me.
In terms of the security situation in the particularly in Washington D.C., we can see that additional security measures have been introduced to curtail possible maybe abnormality that may happen. But I think the American security network are equal to the task. As I speak to you, out of the 25,000 American National Guard that have been brought to Washington D.C., they have been able to expose, or rather to bring 2 out of the 25,000 soldiers that have been brought. They did not satisfy their they are not satisfied with them because they are likely going to create or sympathize with people who have been doing the wrong thing.
Okay. Hello? Mr. Rafsanjani, President-elect, that is Joe Biden's team, we hear plans to unveil a 10-day timetable to reverse Trump's administration damages. How will this help improve diplomatic relations between the U.S., Africa, and, of course, other countries around the world?
A lot, because some of the policies that the President Trump had introduced were actually very repressive, very, wicked, and very totally, not in consonant with the human rights, concern. And more importantly, I think they are not also in consonant with the American tradition. So therefore, some of these policies that Mr. Trump, introduced definitely will be, outrightly be abrogated by the incoming president. He had already made that commitment. He's going to look at issues of immigration, where a lot of children have been separated from their parents and kept in more of like a detention center. This is really very, very wicked of such kind of policy, and the incoming president has promised to carry out investigation for whoever is involved. Definitely they will sanction that group of people who have done that. Secondly, the incoming president also has emphasized about bridging the gaps, because as it is now, America is so divided. Unfortunately, the Trump administration has brought in a lot of silent issues that have been disturbing the country, to expose them in a very, terrible way, which is, of course, issue of racism. So the country is divided, and the incoming president, had promised to look at this issue to see that, they bridge the gap irrespective of the political affiliation or irrespective of the color and the language. Again, the incoming president has also promised to deal with issues of the economy. The American economy, especially, with regard to the COVID-19, has brought in serious consequences to the economic development and growth in America. Also, another important area is the stimulus, the support to deal with also COVID-19, because the present administration or the outgoing administration of Mr. Trump has not paid serious emphasis in dealing with COVID-19. So now the incoming president, one of the major commitments he has promised to do is to see that at least vaccine is distributed and given to at least 100 million Americans within the 100 days of his office. And also taking so many other measures that can really bring back America, in the manner that is known. From the international perspective,
Mr. Rafsanjani,
president.
Mr. Rafsanjani, I'm afraid I have to hold your thoughts there. We do appreciate your contribution on the news. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, they're speaking on tomorrow's inauguration of Joe Biden, but let's bring back issues on the continent here. Election of members of the ECOWAS Parliament by direct suffrage was part of the new mandate conferred on the Parliament by the adoption of the Supplementary Act, enhancing its powers. Recommendations of Parliament's ad hoc committee on the matter has been adopted by members of the plenary. Onenge Finefest reports on this and other issues in the virtual ordinary session of the ECOWAS Parliament.
Highlights of recommendations on the election of members of Parliament by direct universal suffrage include its implementation before the end of the 5th legislature, thematic meetings on specific areas such as financing, electoral code, code of good conduct, and qualifications for election into the ECOWAS Parliament are to be organized as soon as possible. The recommendations add that key ECOWAS institution stakeholders like Authority of Heads of State, Council of Ministers, ECOWAS Commission, and ECOWAS Court of Justice should be consulted on this mission, while a prominent citizen is appointed as champion to lead advocacy on the process.
Draft directive adopting the regional cybersecurity and cybercrime strategy. 6. Draft directive adopting the ECOWAS regional policy on critical infrastructure protection. Article 2. Mandates the Speaker to forward this resolution to the President of the Commission.
Our regional strategy on cybersecurity and the 2021 program of activities for the Parliament were also considered and adopted at plenary.
I have no doubt that we have the capacity to continue our work. We must remain steadfast and always put the interests of the people above self-interest.
The ordinary session ended with amendments in the membership and leadership of some standing committees. Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
All right, let's go on a break. We're back shortly. Stay tuned.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Live more.
Thank Thanks for staying with us. The federal government has continued to unfold programs and policies towards the actualization of removing 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. Well, the latest is the expansion of the existing social register to accommodate urban poor, self-employed and salary earners. Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila reports that Vice President Professor Yemi Oshibajo flagged off the program, which targets 1 million beneficiaries.
Adopting a quick scale-up approach using cutting-edge satellite imaginary technology to identify the target beneficiaries brought about the idea of the Rapid Response Register.
As of 31st December 2020, we have identified and registered about 24.3 million poor and vulnerable individuals in the National Social Register, equivalent to about 5.7 million households. Through this project, we're currently injecting about 10 billion naira directly into the hands of about 2 million poor and vulnerable households every month.
Each of the beneficiaries is to receive 5,000 naira monthly for a period of 6 months to strengthen the development agenda of vulnerable communities. The scope of the program is coverage of all the 36 states and the FCT.
Our experience during the COVID-19 pandemic reinforced this position, especially given the requirement of the COVID-19 protocols, as well as our inability to immediately reach the urban poor impacted by the pandemic.
The Rapid Response Register then becomes that building block that ensures that we have a shock responsive process or platform.
3,115 people from the FCT and Lagos State are to benefit from the grant in the pilot scheme. In Abuja, Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
The Norwegian ambassador to Nigeria says his country is committed to strengthening and deepening bilateral ties with Nigeria on security cooperation and pledges to offer necessary assistance to the police in the fight against contemporary crime facing Nigeria. He gave the assurance during a visit to the Minister of Police Affairs, Mohammed Megarit Ngyadi. Francis Fom reports.
For some time now, Nigeria grapples with many forms of security challenges such as armed robbery, banditry, insurgency, and kidnapping, among others. With the long history of mutually beneficial diplomatic relationship between Nigeria and Norway, the two countries understand how to support themselves when the need arises. The Norwegian ambassador to Nigeria was quick in their assurance to support the Nigeria police force in terming crimes and other security challenges.
The way we cooperate through international partners, through the UN, through other facilities, and how we also would like to, offer our assistance if you have any asks or requests in that sense. Because I think it's important, and as the Minister said, it's an important work going forward for the police also. And I look forward to both future discussions and to friendship going forward.
You are already in the country, you know the challenges we are facing. And I have earlier briefed you on the efforts government is making to reform the police in this country. And we look forward to whatever your country can do to support us in this very vital area of security.
Nigeria is also asking for more collaboration in agriculture, commerce and trade. So the minister says Nigeria is ready for more partnership for development. In Abuja, Francis Fom, NTA News.
Minister of Communications and Digital Economy Isa Ali Pantami has expressed the federal government's satisfaction with the commitment demonstrated by all stakeholders and citizens in the ongoing name-SIM linkage exercise. The commendation followed a review report by the Technical Implementation Committee under the Ministerial Task Force reached at the end of a meeting on Monday, which indicated that so far a total of 47.8 million names have been collected by mobile operators at an average of 3 to 4 SIMs per subscriber. A statement by the Director of Public Affairs, Nigerian Communications Commission, Ikechukwu Adinde, explains that the progress implies that millions more will be linked up before the deadline in February 2021, while warning subscribers to secure and protect their NINs and desist from selling same or allowing others use their NINs for registration. The minister urged the technical team to fast-track the processes so that the project is delivered soonest. Emir of Duse in Jigawa State, Nuhu Mohammed Sanusi, has applauded the Nigerian Television Authority for being a medium that promotes the country's peaceful coexistence through its news and program content. The Emir stated this during the inauguration of some projects in NTA Duse by the Executive Director of News, Mohammed Labu, on behalf of the Director General of the NTA, Mansour Aliyu Hassan reports.
Established 23 years ago, NTA Duse has been projecting the cultural, socio-economic and religious values of the people of Jigawa State. The two projects inaugurated are a virtual studio set and that of flood control with the interlocking landscaping of operational and administrative sections of the station. While inaugurating the projects with the support of the Emir of Duse, Nuhu Muhammad Sanusi, the Executive Director News Mohammed Labbu said the idea of migrating to digital transmission was born out of the NTA's readiness to join in the global best practices.
Anybody who's been watching NTA in the last 34 years, will know that the screen has improved, the graphics have improved, everything has improved.
He commended the NTA Duse management and staff for this feat, while calling on them to continue serving the people of Jigawa State. While conducting the dignitaries round, the general manager of the station, Abdullahi Garba Birnin Kudu, informed them that the idea of the renovation was to allow staff of the station have seamless access to their offices during the rainy season.
We divided it into 3 phases. This is the first phase, and by the grace of God, if we are here, we'll continue to do the second and the third phase. If another person comes in, as government work is a continuous process, somebody can continue and finish the other one we are seeing here.
I'm aware of what efforts they have made, and their personal efforts made this station what it is now. I am my gratitude to them.
The guest also inspected the new NTA Duse Garden, which was named after the pioneer general manager of the station, Idris Bako Muhammad. In Duse, Mansour Aliyu Hassan, NTA News.
Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, Air Vice Marshal Muhammadu Mohammed, says staff of the agency must acquaint themselves with the provisions of the Public Procurement Act to entrench transparency and accountability in the agency's procurement process. The Director General stated this at a one-day training on public procurement at the agency's headquarters in Abuja. Let's hear more from Ilyasu Ali Yakubu.
The Act that establishes public procurement provides for every government ministries, agencies and parastatals to cue into the Act in its procurement processes. That is why the National Emergency Management Agency is engaging its staff with requisite knowledge of the Act for efficient service delivery. Director General, National Emergency Management Agency said, as emergency managers, things must be done with maximum speed for the agency to deliver on its mandate. While commending the resource persons for imparting the necessary knowledge, he enjoined members of staff to make judicious use of the knowledge acquired during the training.
You have to do your due diligence. Anything short of that is going to throw the agency into disrepute.
The resource person, Alhaji Mafuta Bokoye Oloide, who is a retired director of procurement of the agency, highlighted the importance of adherence to Public Procurement Act and observance of all other relevant regulations from the Bureau for Public Procurement to achieve transparency.
All right, that's the much we can take on the news. We do appreciate your time with us, but let's keep the fight on against rape and rapists. Yes, we can. I'm Ruth Aguele, and my sign interpreter here is Bukumi Adejumo.